My name is Jeff Tanner. I'm the sales manager for Goodradigbee. I've been with the company just over almost close to 2 years now. We started only 4 years ago in Australia, but it was, its conception was over in the UK when John O'Connor, the distiller, was learning to distill at Strathern under a guy named Tony Reeman Clark. So he learned all about his distillation skills there. And they were just having a dram one night, and John was remembered sitting around campfires back in Australia and the distinct type of, aromas the wood gave off, and was like, well, everyone does oak. Everyone does a variation of oak for their malts. How about we try doing something different with an Australian timber? They're so isolated. Our temperatures are so hot during the day and they get really cold at night. So, they're really dense. They're called hardwoods for a reason. So he got a whole bunch of timber shipped over and created some little, cubes because they couldn't bend the wood into barrels. So that's also why our bottles are cubed. Jumps out of the
nice bottle.
Also part of that little stuff. Thank you. Yeah. So it's all about the conception about not being able to bend the wood into staves to make barrels. So they made cubes and used them as the maturation vessels instead of barrels. It's our point of difference. Our bit, the bit we're trying to do to stand out from the crowd. I guess when it's such a saturated market all across the world, and as I said, there's so much variations on an oak barrel. COVID caused John to come back to Australia, and then he sort of just kept growing things from there, obviously online, but now we've moved into a nice big warehouse distillery space. Hopefully got a bar opening up in a month and a half as a cellar door sort of thing. So we're just going from strength to strength and setting ourselves apart from the rest of
very interesting story. I mean, I may have not heard about this way of barrel. Very, very nice. What's the distribution landscape right now? Are you just in Australia and UK, or looking for someone in UK? Just walk me over your current distribution and which markets are you looking to enter?
So at the moment we're very Australian centric. We're on board with most of the major distribution and retailers in Australia, all the big guys run by Woolworths or Endeavour and lots of independents as well, and growing all the time. At the moment we have pockets of things that have popped up over in the UK and other regions. We did an export program with the New South Wales government for Japan to look at options there, but they are very local based. It's a very hard market to crack, especially in the malts. So we're looking for distribution and importation, I guess, to make that whole process a lot easier for the US and the UK. The two big markets where we think the Australiana of our product will really transfer and capture people's imagination.
So let's give them some context here. I know a little bit about Australia because I was living in Melbourne for about 8 years. So you throw in some names which are some big accounts of Australia, right? Like Woolworths. I believe you may be in Liquorland, in Coles, and some other chains as well. So how is the brand performing there? And what kind of programs you've seen you work with those guys to drive sales? Which other markets can take a good points from?
So especially with Endeavour, Dan Murphy's, we're doing a very big sort of we came on board with them this year, and through the whole course of this year, we've been doing a big rollout with lots of placement and tastings to really emphasize the fact that we are something different on the market. We are promoting ourselves being in store and available, which is something that we're big on, just to let the customer know that we're a new product, we're a different product, and that once they have that sort of tasting and they get the story behind it, not as long-winded as I mentioned to you earlier, but just the sort of the conception of it being in cubes. The Australiana really drives the product here locally, because it's unique. Where, Australia, we're in the middle of nowhere essentially compared to the rest of the world. So having that bit of like familiarity in, the hardwoods work, put through the paces in our harsh climate really resonates with a lot of consumers in Australia.
Nice. What about like the other countries? Like, do you export to any other country right now?
At the moment, no. We're still in that sort of early stage of putting the feelers out there. We've had some good contacts with people like Amethyst and stuff like that over in the UK, just through some mutual connections from my time living over in London. And with our, one of our directors, Tony, who is based in the UK, he has a nice, good range of, connections there. And we're hoping to take our cubes over to the UK so we can make, to save a lot of cost on, the export factor of it. That'll, shipping, taxes, tariffs, distill using Australian barley in the UK to give that very authentic feel, because that's an important part.
So you have a pretty big range as well, right, Jeff? I can see that you entered many products in London Spirits competition. So give me a little bit of an idea of a portfolio, because for someone who's considering to import, it's a great point because they can mix and match, get started with a couple of pallets, So just throw me some kind of what kind of range are we talking about? What kind of, if you want, up to you, but you may disclose a little bit of a retail price range so people can get an idea that this is where you're targeting.
Well, I'll start with our malts. I've got the Ironbark here in front of me, but we've got 4 available, but we're slowly peeling back the Ironbark Yellow, but we're focusing on Jarrah, Ironbark Red and Blackwood. In Australia, they retail for $79, $88 and $118 is in that order. They're very, unique products. They're all very different flavour characteristics. So those 3 will allow, a sort of benchmark on how the woods are different to the sort of normal products. We also have a big range of gins. Here's the freshwater. It's our biggest seller. It's like our timbers being unique. We've got a lot of native botanicals in Australia that you can't find anywhere else in the world. So this one here, it's finger lime, lemon, myrtle, Kakadu plums, obviously that juniper forward. And that really follows down the line of, most of our gins, Sweetwater and freshwater. Sweetwater being our wood-aged gin. We say wood-aged or wood-infused because it's not barrel-aged. We just got to find that sort of definition. Also aged in a cube on Australian timber, Ironbark specifically. Both of those retailing for $68. They are, big, vibrant Australian forward flavours. And same with the Blush, which is retails for $79. It's in Australia. So that's Davidson plum, strawberry gum, big native botanical forward. We also have a really, really cool vodka, which I am not really much of a vodka person initially, but first time I tried this one, which is double distilled. In between distillations, it's aged on grey Ironbark, so we call it grey gum vodka. Really lush, smooth. Did well at the Bartender Spirits Awards. That retails for $79. But and I think it's a perfect example of the subtleties of the flavors that you can get into a product. So it's a very large range. We've got a broad spectrum, but we're pretty proud of how we do things pretty methodically. So
very interesting. I'm sure something different. The trade can, importers and distributors can story tell, because you're coming from the barrel and the making side, you're offering a product range on how it's made. Then sort of, just not the flavors basically.
Exactly. Yeah, that's big for us. We want to emphasize all those things, and myself and John, we're both very committed to getting people out and getting it tasting. So if there were ever options of import, I know John's keen to get back to London, not just to see friends, but help expand the business and stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Anything else you would want to add, especially for the UK market out there, on where they can find you, or for samples, or any other, just a last minute call for action?
I think at the moment the best way is to get in touch with us here at Goodradigbee Distillers. Goodradigbee.com is our website. It's got all our contact details. We're more than happy to get samples over and help drive business for import and distribution options. We see the UK as a very big market for us, not just population wise, but there's a lot of Australians over there that really like seeing their own products around. I get quite sparked up when I see a little brewery that I'm familiar with back in Australia in London, and we want to offer a bit of Australia when you're overseas. So, a bit of home when you're away.